Thank you. Good evening, Representative, and you can proceed.
Thank you, Senator McCaffrey. Thank you to the committee. I've been to many committee meetings, and I can't remember when I saw one where the whole committee was still here at 10 o'clock at night, and I realized the people momentarily out of the room, but you've still got 10 people here. I've testified many times in the House on behalf of same-sex marriage, and I was always able to say that I've got a lot of friends who really need this right, really deserve it, but it wasn't going to affect me personally because nobody in my family was gay. Well, I can't say that anymore because a year ago, a little more than a year ago, I learned that my oldest granddaughter was deeply in love with another woman, and last September they got married in another state. So I have all the more reason now to be in favor of equality for marriage. But I've tried to understand why people are opposed to it. I've tried by listening to testimony in many other committee meetings, House committee meetings, and try to understand, but frankly, I can't understand why anybody would care in what way they would affect the rest of us if people who are in love with somebody of the same sex have the same rights. Now we hear over and over again that marriage is between one man and one woman. I'm not quite sure where that notion came from because it's not out of the Bible. I mean, there was some famous characters, Lamech, Abraham, Jacob, David had lots of wives. And of course, the champion of all was King Solomon. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines. I don't hear much about that anymore. It sort of shoots down that idea of one man and one woman. But what really mystifies me about polygamy, frankly, is that if one guy is corralling a whole bunch of women, there must be some guys out there that don't have anybody to get married to. I don't know how that works, but obviously polygamy still exists in some parts of the world, in some parts of the United States. And they were told that marriage is a sacred institution, ordained by God. And what are some of the other words we've heard today? Well, I don't think it really is. In the Rhode Island general laws, there's a whole list of people that can perform marriages, a long list of people, judges and clerks and God knows what else. But that list isn't even enough, so the legislature has to ordain for a day other people over and over and over again. I'm sure I must have voted for hundreds of bills, solemnization of marriage. I never even knew the person that was doing the marriage. I didn't know the bride or the groom, and I didn't discuss it, and there was no debate, and I voted for it. And this year already, and we're just in March, you've got 60 solemnization of marriage bills already introduced. Some have passed already. So where does the church come into that? Where does God come into that? And we're told that children need a mother and father, and I'm sure that's desirable, but half the marriages end in divorce, and so where's the advantage for those kids? One of the concerns that was brought up in the House, I don't know if it's this year or last year, was about Catholic schools, religious schools, colleges in particular. What would happen if two married men wanted to share a room? They'd have to let them share the room. And I thought, well, what the heck? If they're not married, it wouldn't be a problem. It's only a problem if they're married. So all these arguments, one after another, I can't make sense out of them. Well, the other bottom line is that marriage is for procreation. You got to have a man, you got to have a woman. Well, I'm not sure about that either because, frankly, I'm 80 years old, and my wife's given me permission to say that she's 80 years old also, so we're not going to be doing much more procreation in our family. So does that mean we don't have the right to still be married? I hope not. I'm just unable to understand what the opposition is, and I hope you folks will see fit to send Bill 38 to the floor, and I hope the Senate will pass it. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions or comments? Senator Metz.
I just wanted to say hello to my old colleague, Rodney. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Senator.
And Rodney, when he said he read every bill from top to bottom, he did. I remember one time there was something, there was a formula that the state did, and Rodney went through the formula and corrected it. I don't know how much money he saved, but you did read every bill, Rod, so it's good to see it. But the only thing I would say is that marriage, Jesus did speak of marriage, so when you get a chance, look at Matthew 19:4 and 5. He clearly defined it between one man and one woman. And then when you said God will come into that, I don't see how God will come into that. Well, when we see how he'll come into that, it's in eternity. When we transition from this life, because we're preparing, this life is to prepare us for the next. Even if we live only 100 years, that compares to nothing on the other side where we're going to be for eternity. So God will come into it when we transition to eternity, and then the direction will be up or down. So we all have to decide which way we're going to go. But so good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Archibald.
Just a quick comment, Mr. Driver. I commend you for coming and speaking tonight. I've watched you over the years, and you have a very Thomas Paine-like common sense to your arguments. You speak in a very common-sensically, logically based way that inspires me. I wanted to share that. I like the way you think. Regardless of the issue, I like the way you think. Just want to share
Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you.